if you're in private business, or if you're a pensioner, as far as Labour's concerned, you just go and do one.
Right.
They have decided that those people won't vote for them, and they're going for those living on benefits. They're going for those working in the public sector. It's actually, if you think about it, quite divisive.
Yeah. But do they not understand that small business is the greatest driver of the tax revenue in the economy? Isn't it something like 55% of all tax revenue is small business?
Yeah. So
and yet they're the ones that have been attacked the most.
Again, with my helpful contribution in the Parliament yesterday, I did say none of you on the front bench have ever worked in private business.
Didn't you say the Chancellor's never even had a job?
I said the business secretary's never even had a job.
The business secretary.
Mind you, that was the same for George Osborne when he was Chancellor. Never had a paper round. It's extraordinary. It was funny because someone shouted, I said, I've set up businesses. I've worked, I've done these things. And some abuse came over. I said, look, I've worked all my life. Well, apart from being an MEP, I couldn't call that work, really. But I'm sorry, I'm making light of it. But it's not funny.
No.
There is a complete lack of comprehension. And what I did learn in Brussels, and I'm seeing it in London too, is the business voices that speak to politicians are the big businesses. It's the big businesses.
The big corporations.
Yeah, they're the ones that take you out for dinner. They're the ones that take you to Wentworth to play golf.
And they're the ones that fund your political campaigns.
They're the ones that fund your campaigns. Yeah. They're the ones that take you to watch the FA Cup final. And so these politicians with very little experience or almost no experience of private business or of risk capital, not unearned income, risk capital, they think they know the voice of business because a multinational's spoken to them.
Right.
No, they have no comprehension of entrepreneurship. They have no comprehension of what it's like to run a small business. They have no comprehension with tax and regulation, just how much more difficult it's becoming in this country. The fact we still have 5.5 million people who act as sole traders or run their own little businesses is almost a miracle.
So I'm going to come to all the exodus in the UK, from the UK in a moment as well. But what pissed off a lot of people was that if you're a saver, you're not a working person. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're a landlord, you're not a working person. I mean, how did you get savings? You worked your whole life to save.
I know.
What is this? Is this because they said they weren't going to tax working people and now they're just trying to change the definitions?
Well, definitions they struggle with. I mean, after all, Keir Starmer couldn't say what a woman was, if you remember. So they struggled too with working people. Look,
they don't know what growth is, do they?
Well, absolutely don't. No clue. They've got no clue about any of this stuff. The fact is that the thresholds at which we start to pay income tax are frozen until 2028. Inheritance tax thresholds have been frozen since 2009. Think about this. So you've got a situation where 40p tax comes in the middle late 1980s. 40p was top rate. It's paid by 1.5 million people. Go all the way through the 1990s, through the whole of the Blair era, a top rate tax is still 40%. But because the bands have shifted in line with inflation, 1.5 million people are paying 40% in 2008. By 2028, it'll be 8 million.
Wow.
8 million paying what was for decades.
So it's a stealth tax increase, basically.
That's what they've done.
Yeah.
So, your staff nurse is now paying 40p tax. The manageress of my local pub is now paying 40% tax. And so we're being taxed to hell. And this impression she gave, Reeves, in the election campaign and since, that taxes would not go up on working people is for the birds.
If you'd like to make, manage and multiply money and get access to my private channel for daily hard-hitting money-making tips. How I bought this Aston Martin, no money down, with other people's money. Go now to t.me/Rob Moore Official. It's my official Telegram channel. Every day I'm hitting you with content on making, multiplying, understanding money and beating the system at its own game. Are you as bearish about the future of the economy as I am? And do you think this is going to push us into some big recession, depression?
The funny thing is, however hard government makes things, there are still people out there that are ducking and diving and trying and doing their bit.
Like most of my listeners.
But no, and look, we shouldn't be put off from doing that. Of course we shouldn't. It's just going to be harder.
Yeah.
You're just going to be, you're going to be taxed more. It's going to be harder. What I am certain of is that we will have 5 more years of continued overall decline. There are people within the system that will do well, but I'm afraid the average Joe will not do well, and the average Joe will get poorer. And I find it depressing. I thought that Brexit was the big opportunity to really re-engage with the entrepreneurial side of our country. Been squandered by both parties, frankly. Everything from financial services regulation to our fisheries. We've not seized a single opportunity. And that's very disappointing. I think the big one, the really big one is this. If you think about the credit crunch that happened in 2008-09, at the root of it was too much debt. Too much debt nationally, too much debt corporately, too much debt individually. And it's sort of the epicenter was the mortgage market in America, but that was symptomatic of a bigger, broader problem. Well, indebtedness now is way bigger than it was in 2008-09. And I do think at some point in time, there comes a bit of a reckoning for Western economies, and there will be another financial crash. I can't tell you when it's going to be. If I knew it was next Wednesday, I'd walk out of here right now and start trading. But I don't know when it's going to come. But I do think a reckoning's coming at some point in time, and I think when that happens, I think the sort of political realignments that we're seeing beginning to happen already across the West will increase in pace.
What do you mean by political realignment?
I think that the corporatist, centre-left view of big state, high taxes, which has prevailed for a very, very long time, which, by the way, for the rich has been fantastic. Asset growth, quantitative easing, the rich have got richer hugely in the last 10 to 15 years. But I think...
You mean super rich?
The super rich, yeah.
Yeah, because they're defining people on 150 grand as rich, aren't they?
I meant the asset rich.
Yeah.
If you've had property or stocks, the last 15 years have been a dream, and part of that's been because of these policies of quantitative easing, creating false money, basically. Yeah. No, I think there's a very big political reckoning to come. I think that for your middle income, skilled worker, the things they could afford 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they can't afford now. I think their kids just look on with a sense of helplessness. If you're, young 18-year-old leaving school, you're ambitious and want to work hard, how are you going to buy a house? Where's the money coming from?
Yeah.
It really is difficult. So I think there will be a big political reaction to this at some point in time. I think that, albeit with debt, but I think that the economic circumstances that Trump produced in those 4 years in America, that's what people are hungry for.
Yeah. I want to talk about Trump in a bit as well, but I do want to talk about this millionaire exodus, this entrepreneur exodus from the UK. So since lockdown, the amount of millionaires that have left the UK seem to have doubled every year, plus or minus a bit. And every entrepreneur I speak to, bar none, is either saying, I can't leave, but if I didn't have my children and my parents here, I would, or I'm trying to figure it out, or I'm already gone. Yeah. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs, and every single one's saying the same thing.
Isn't it bizarre that in the European Union, where it's against the rules, Milan and Lisbon are bidding for British people to go there with tax deals?
Yeah. It's very clever in a way.
Very clever.
Come to us. Yeah.
Rob, the non-doms going, there are downsides to non-doms, which is they push London property prices up more than they maybe needed to do. But the upsides are they spend their money.
Yeah.
They spend their money.
Why wouldn't we want all the rich people here?
And they pay tax here. So
create loads of jobs.
That exodus has been going on for some time. Similarly with those that are very wealthy, there were concerns a wealth tax would get brought in. It didn't. I never thought it would. But still, they feel the whole message, the whole mood music isn't very positive. My biggest worry, actually, are the 30-somethings.
Right.
The people that are setting up businesses, the entrepreneur. If you're in tech, right, say you work in tech, Why be in London? Why be in Manchester? Why not be in Lisbon? I mean, you can fly back. You can fly back every business week of the year for a couple of days and stay within the 90-day rule on tax. And that's my worry, is that we're driving out young entrepreneurs. We're driving out bright people. The brain drain, which I remember in the 70s, you know, up until sort of 1978, 9, when, you know, our youngest accountants and doctors and people were leaving. And the same's happening again. A lot of youngsters going to Australia. Australia now, very, very tempting location, particularly for the medical profession, where they're earning a lot more money in Australia. But yeah, that's my real worry. And the total lack of comprehension that you can't actually have the public services you want unless you have wealth creators. They don't understand that. We still have IR35 rules, making it nightmarish for the self-employed. We still don't allow VAT-free shopping. So the global rich now spend their money in Paris and Frankfurt. I mean, we must
That
be...
was ridiculous. What? That was ridiculous.
Incredible. The day we left the single market, they put VAT on all these goods.
Yeah. I remember Bicester was full of international shoppers. They spent millions on refurbing it all, and then it was dead.
Yeah. No. And this is frankly how stupid we've become. Clearly, Reeves is motivated by political ideology. The idea that she was a top economist at the Bank of England, well, I don't know.
Are these people not blackboard economists? Have they actually run a business?
Well, I think she was counting paper clips personally, but maybe I'm wrong. She wasn't a top economist at the Bank of England. She worked in a department doing a bit of research, and fine. You know, I'm not being derogatory about that. It's funny, isn't it? She overplays who she is, and poor old Keir, humble son of a toolmaker, he owned the blooming factory. I mean, there isn't much truth about, is there?
No,
there really isn't. There really isn't. So look, you know, it's a bad budget. Frankly, the last 2 or 3 budgets were pretty awful anyway under Jeremy Hunt.
Yeah.
It's not good for entrepreneurship. It's not good for business. It's very bad for saving. But look, guys, you know, unless you want to emigrate, get on with it, make the best of it.
This recent budget should warn you that your pension is not safe and secure, and they're coming for your inheritance. Do you even know how much is in your pension or where your pension is invested? Add to this the recent inheritance tax grab on your pensions and the risk of a market crash. You probably didn't know this, and I didn't until recently, but physical gold can be added to your pension pot. Gold is inheritance tax-free and has grown 700% in the last 20 years. You probably know from my content I'm investing heavily in silver and gold, and that's why I've partnered with Direct Bullion. Myself and Nigel Farage are brand ambassadors, and Direct Bullion can help you with gold to protect and grow your pension. I buy my gold and silver from Direct Bullion, and I don't earn any money on any purchases of gold or silver if you buy direct from Direct Bullion. So if you go to robmore.directbullion.com, you can get a great price on your silver and gold, and you can get the pension gold investing guide completely for free. As you know, I don't do many strategic partnerships, and when I do them with people who are credible, who've been doing it a long time, who invest in things that I invest in too, and gold and silver's going wild. I'm investing heavily in gold and silver, and I recommend you check out robmore.directbullion.com.